In the morning sun where the flowers bloom, colors burst like a painter's dream come true. Roses red and violets blue, every petal whispers something new. From tiny seeds to trees so grand, every leaf and bird, it's all at hand. Hello, hello plant, welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello plant, in every shade and hue, for every heart and every hand, we've got something for you. Indoor greens and outdoor scenes, design your space, let your garden dreams glide. Personal touch with our garden design, free sessions to blend within your budget line. From tiny seeds to trees so grand, every leaf and bird, it's all at hand. Hello, hello plant, welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello plant, in every shade and hue, for every heart and every hand, we've got something for you. Now everybody, let's say hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello plant, welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello plant, and every shade and hue, for every heart and every hand, we've got something for you, just for you. In the morning sun where the flowers bloom, colors burst like a painter's dream come true. Roses red and violets blue, every petal whispers something new. From tiny seeds to trees so grand, every leaf and bird, it's all at hand. Hello, hello plant, welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello plant, in every shade and hue, for every heart and every hand, we've got something for you. Indoor greens and outdoor scenes, design your space, let your garden dreams glide. Personal touch with our garden design, free sessions to blend within your budget line. From tiny seeds.
Hi everyone, and welcome to our live about spring blossoms. Today we're going to talk all about the exciting, fun and best spring blossoms that are going to be coming very soon. Our first earlier spring blossoms have already started with the magnolias, but we're going to be chatting about other ones today because we already talked about magnolias last week. If you missed out on that, we will have an article coming out soon, and also we do post evergreen content about it, which you can go check out. I hope everyone's Tuesday has been lovely so far. If you find you have any questions, just pop them in the comments and we will answer them in live time, or we'll answer them at the end of the show. just depending on kind of the flow and how Chris is going with all the stuff that he wants to talk about today. So I am very excited. How are you doing today, Chris?
Great, thanks. And I love spring blossoms. It's kind of like it's a thing. It's cold, it's miserable, but it's the thing that tells you about better times ahead.
Well, that sounds pretty awesome to me. Let's get right into it.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, your blossoms sort of come to life. They start coming to life in Melbourne in the first, towards the end of this month and in early August we'll start to see our first blossoms. And one of the first blossoms we're going to see is the Prunus bleriana, and it's one of it's one of the first, and it's really one of the best. It flowers in end of July. And flowers right through August. And one of the things about it, because it flowers in such cold weather, the flowers seem to really last. So you get it's one of the longest. As you get into the warmer weather, some of the blossoms can be a little bit brief. It has a beautiful, gentle fragrance. It's a really intense, heavy load of blossom with a beautiful. Rich but soft pink, like it's sort of rich and soft at the same time, and the tree itself is quite a compact tree. Where they're often used in streets, and like the one that you're seeing here is about 3 meters tall, and it's probably 15 years old, and it's really not getting into becoming a monster tree or getting out of hand. But one of the great things about the bleriana is its summer foliage. So not only is it a nice, compact, hardy little tree that you can grow almost anywhere, but once the beautiful pink blossom's finished, what you'll have sort of purpley bronzy foliage, which looks really, really attractive, will come immediately afterwards, and you have beautiful coloured foliage that goes right through, from sort of mid to late spring right through summer and autumn until winter. So beautiful, colourful foliage. And then number two, what we're going to do is get onto is shields. And what we're onto now is we're onto our weeping blossoms, and weeping blossoms are pretty much people's favourite blossoms. And we'll start with perhaps one of the most popular, which is your Scheele's weeping cherry. So let's have a look at that. Now your Scheele's weeping cherry, that's a beautiful double pink weeping cherry, and it's an interesting tree in that it doesn't just hang down, but it actually has branches that grow up, branches that grow out, and branches that grow down. So you get almost a star-like, a radiant star-like effect with beautiful flowering branches going in all sections. And because when you buy it, normally when you buy them, they'll be 5 or 6 or 7 foot tall when you buy them, and then they don't really get that much taller. They're fairly restricted in their growth, so you're not going to end up. The great thing with the Scheele's weeping cherry is a beautiful blossom tree, but it's never going to end up too big. Beautiful double pink blossom. And the other thing I like about Scheele's is I've noticed that some of your other cherries, fabulous blossoms, but they're a big storm and the blossom's gone. Scheele's has a very robust flower that survives that rough, rocky spring weather really, really well. So basically your Scheele's, beautiful pink flowers, compact tree, and the blossoms last well, in the spring. And Scheele's tends to flower last week in September. It varies a little bit where you live, but around last week in September you've got your Scheele's coming out into flower. Now the next one is another popular pink. It's called Sub Rosia. Now Sub Rosia, single flower, beautiful soft pink, and what you end up with when you get a nice big one of those, they spread right out and they have fine branches, these beautiful pink flowers, and you end up with a kind of like almost a pink cloud. Like that's the only way I could describe a Sub Rosia in flower. It's like this lovely soft pink cloud. And it's soft, it's a little bit see-through, it's absolutely fabulous. It's a very, very soft pink, very, very pretty, and it's fine branches, and it virtually forms a pink cloud, which is very, very attractive. And the next one is probably the most popular weeping cherry at the moment. It's called Falling Snow. That's the sub-rose. Actually, we'll go back that. Let's go back. That sort of gives you that look. Let's have a look at that. That's your sub-rosier. That's it as a cloud of beautiful soft pink. You sort of see it there. Lovely soft pink, a little bit see-through. Lots and lots of flowers, and really cloud-like. Quite an amazing tree to have. The next one is falling snow. Now, falling snow has become the most popular weeping cherry, and the reason why it's the most popular weeping cherry is that where people have got smaller and smaller blocks of land and smaller gardens and little courtyards and things like that. And falling snow is a great one if you wanted to grow a cherry in a pot or you want to grow it in a tiny garden bed. You see it falls almost straight down, and it's not a big spreading tree, so it's a very, very compact tree. And the other thing is that the branches fall, and they fall quite densely. The blossom comes quite densely, and because the branches are close together, the impact of the blossom is incredible. We have lots of them in the store. When they flower in springtime, people just empty. They just disappear. You can't keep one on the floor because they're absolutely spectacular. And if you've got a very small garden bed, we often sell them as a short standard, and they look really nice in a pot or in a little tiny garden bed as a short standard, and they also look great as a tall standard. And then the next one is Sabatella alba.
And for anyone who's on Facebook, I'm sorry that you can't see any photos of what we're showing. Just because of the software we use, it doesn't go to Facebook, so we can't be showing you photos. If you do have us on Instagram or YouTube or X, you can hop over to that platform and see images of all the blossoms and trees we're talking about today. If not, Chris is describing them as well. But yeah, keep going.
Okay, so the Sabatella alba. Now, Sabatella alba is an interesting one. It's a very strong grower, very disease and bug resistant, big leaves, big blossoms, much bigger, and basically it'll grow. If you have a large garden or a large area that you want to fill, your Sabatella alba will develop an enormous head. I've had them, several meters across. So that'll make a beautiful big showpiece in the middle of a larger space. Spectacular blossom, but there's other things. Because it's such a hardy one and sort of so bug and disease free, you'll find that the leaves look fabulous all through the summer, and it's one of the best ones for autumn colour in the autumn because and the other thing is, without you doing too much pruning, where your shields and some of your other ones can be a little bit odd shape, your Sabatella alba, although it's quite large, grows into a very symmetrical shape that requires very little trimming and shaping, and it'll grow to this beautiful symmetrical shape and look really grand and look good in spring with the white blossom, look really good and like lovely big symmetrical green head in the summer, and then fabulous autumn colour in the autumn. So you've got really a lot going for the Sabatella alba, and it probably deserves to be a little bit more popular than what it is. Now the next one is, we're back to the Elvis of the blossom world. It's called Prunus albens. And at any rate, Prunus albens is really an absolutely fabulous blossom tree. The only problem is it's a fairly ordinary looking tree for the whole rest of the year. So when I use them in a garden design, I'll tend to plant a clump of it, and it's a small tree. They're only a sort of a 2.5-3 metre tree, and they're a smallish tree, and they look pretty ordinary for the rest of the year. But in blossom, I think there's that lovely shades of pink and white all mixed together. Very, very dense blossom, very compact. The blossom's very tight together. Really, really beautiful blossom tree. Absolutely spectacular. So what I tend to do is I tend to not put them out as a main feature or anything like that. I tend to put them in the background so that when they're blossoming, they jump out at you, and then when they're not blossoming, they sort of disappear into the background, because they do spectacular, one of the most spectacular blossom trees and one of the least spectacular trees for the whole rest of the year. So
it does its best when it can.
Yeah.
We do have a question here from Susan. Hi, Susan. Just asking if these blossoming cherries take heat and cold well.
They do. Mm-hmm. They do. particularly in Victoria, and they don't do as well, say, in Sydney. And by the time we get to Brisbane, I tell people not to bother. You know.
Okay.
So basically, but in our climate here, cherries do fabulously.
Yeah.
Like-
Is it
like-
the heat that it's not really doing well in? It's getting up into the
as you go
Queensland kind of
north,
area?
no, it's your summer rain, it's your steamy tropical heat is what they're not liking. They'll take a bit of that, but you can tell that weeping cherries are quite common in Sydney, but they don't look as good as the Victorian one that we grow down here. So if
Poor Sydney.
So if you need a really fabulous weeping cherry, move to Melbourne. Yeah.
Sounds like good advice. Melbourne is the best.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we've done that now. Where were we? We were at number 1, 2, 3.
Bleriana.
Back to.
Bleriana.
Oh right. So
Yep.
we're back to the Bleriana. Look, I really think I've done the Bleriana. We'll go to number 8 now.
Comes on.
Yeah. So number 8. It's interesting. This is the Kansan cherry. Now what we've done is we're now going to the upright cherry. Now your Kansan cherry. It's interesting. A few years ago, like one of the growers was saying, look, a few years ago I couldn't give them away, and now I just can't get enough of them. And it's what's happened. Like we have trouble supplying the demand for Kansan. Kansan has always been one of my favourite. It's a beautiful, rich pink, and you can see there the volume of blossom is just incredible. So incredible volume of amazing pink, but there's a lot more to like about the Kansan. The Kansan has a beautiful upward branching structure. You've got this beautiful pink, and where you a great spot to see them is the main shopping street in Emerald is lined with them. So not the main road going through, but the main shopping strip is lined with them, and in blossom. And up there they'll flower late September, early October. And they look absolutely fabulous. But what I love is as they get into the flowering, these beautiful sort of purpley red big leaves, they're beautiful big foliage, emerge out of the blossom. Where a lot of blossom trees sort of lose their magnificence as you go through that blossoming season, your Kansan, amazing naked tree, with all just blossom everywhere, and then the leaves emerge amongst the blossom, and they've got a beautiful sort of purpley tint that just harmonises perfectly with amazing pink blossom. So it's almost like a double show. And then again with them, they're a good strong grower, very little sort of disease and bugs. So you have a fabulous show of autumn colour with your Kansan. And what's interesting is that one grower has actually started growing the Kansans as a standard. And so we actually, if you go to our website, you'll see that we've got short standards and tall standards. So you can get a Kansan that's been grafted down low and it'll branch and fork right from the base, and that's how the ones in the shopping street in Emerald are. And then you've got sort of medium-sized ones where they branch up a little bit higher, and they can look really elegant in a garden or an avenue or something like that. And then you've got ones up around 5-6 foot that are branching from there, so you've got a nice clear trunk. And they'd be great in a street or a bigger avenue or a big landscape. So there's different ways of getting the Kansan, and I think that's quite exciting and quite interesting. And the next one would be one of my, and I keep saying my favourite, but it's hard to...
They're all just so good.
Yeah. The next one is out of this world. It's Shimizu Sakura. And Shimizu Sakura, you can buy a Shimizu Sakura really two ways. There's ones that are budded and grafted down low, and that just forms a lovely bushy tree. And there's ones the one that you're seeing in the picture here has been grafted about 5 foot, and you get other ones that are grafted at 6 or 7 foot. And then basically what it'll do is it's not a weeper. Sometimes people actually sell them as weepers, but they're not a weeper. But what they are is that they're a compact round or sort of like a spaceship shaped tree. And if you buy them down low, that's a lovely spreading tree. And if you buy them grafted up high, what you can have is a tree. I often use them where somebody wants a garden design. They've got a really tiny garden, and they want some flowers and some things happening in the garden. But I know that if I put a tree that's grafted down low and it bushes everywhere, there's no room for anything else. So I'll plant a Shimizu Sakura because the blossom is absolutely incredible. But also I'll plant what I'd call a tall standard. And with a tall standard, you've got 5 or 6 foot of stem, and then you've got the head coming out on top, so that you can have flowers, you can put a little garden seat, you can put a little spot to sit or talk or walk or whatever, and so you've got, and it makes like a 2-story garden, and in those sorts of situations often people would want a little bit of shade, so it's rather like having an umbrella on a pole in the garden that has the most amazing blossom. And how I would describe the blossom is that when the buds are opening, you've got a beautiful, very, very rich pink. And then as the new flowers open, you've got a soft pink, and then as the flowers are open for a couple of days, they're white. And so that makes a beautiful effect when you look closely into the blossom of seeing 3 colours. You're seeing a nice bright pink, you're seeing a soft pink, and then you're seeing a white, and it's all mixed all over it. And I think that's what I love about the Shimizu Sakura, is that sort of, I guess it's a tricolour blossom when it's going. So, and a lot of landscape architects and gardeners use standard Mount Fuji's, and the problem is that standard Mount Fuji's are really good, and they're handy in the landscape. You know, it gives you that sort of umbrella effect and a nice compact tree on a pole that's not a weeper, and it's really a wonderful tree and a wonderful blossom. But the problem is that if you ever see a Shimizu Sakura as a standard, it is so superior to the Mount Fuji. Like, I just couldn't have a Mount Fuji after knowing the Shimizu Sakura and how beautiful it is as a standard. A Mount Fuji just pales into insignificance as a standard. And you won't find Mount Fuji on my list to talk about today, because I think Shimizu Sakura is just so superior. Now the next one I want to talk about is Okami. Now Okami is a very Japanese one, and Okami, this photo probably doesn't really do it justice, but it's a beautiful single pink, and it's a single pink in an upright tree that's quite compact. So if you wanted a non-weeping tree, and you can sometimes get them grafted up a bit high, but it's a bit hard to get. But if you want a blossom tree that's upright and not a weeper, that has fabulous blossom, your Okami is hard to beat. Your Okami, beautiful, beautiful pink, very sort of very sort of Japanese looking, and very, very compact, a little bit spreading, and the blossom is quite a rich and kind of rich and bright, but with a sort of a softness at the same time. So very, very nice blossom, and very sort of Japanese, great for a Japanese garden. So, and great for anybody wanting a really compact blossom tree with really intense blossom for a good 3 weeks in springtime. So next we're going over to crab apples, and crab apples, if you're doing a beautiful garden and you really want to enjoy your blossoms, you've got to do crab apples. And you wonder why I would say that. It's because crab apples are the last of your spring blossoms. So if you wanted the first of your spring blossoms is your real spring blossoms. There are some oddball things that would come first, but the first of them is your Bleriana. And then the last of them is your Ioensis floriplena. And you're almost mid to late November when that's finished. And you could set these up so that you could have blossoms from August until mid-November. Now your Ioensis floriplena is, if you're not that interested in, like crab apples, a lot of crab apples have little fruit on them, and my mum used to make the most beautiful jelly. I think to this day I've never tasted better jam or jelly than my mum's crab apple jelly. It's just, it had perfume, we used to hold it up to the light and look through it. It just used to glow, beautiful colour, and taste absolutely fabulous. And So, but if you're not interested in those little crab apples, and the crab apples are also good because they look quite, they're like little bright little berries. So they look good in the autumn, particularly when you see them in amongst the autumn leaves of the crabapple. But if you're not, Ioensis floriplena is the worst one for getting fruit. I've hardly ever seen a fruit on one, and the fruit wasn't even that attractive. But for blossom, it's number one. It's a big blossom. It's about the size of a 50-cent piece. And you can see here in the photo that the bud is pink, the opening flower is light pink, and the established flower is white. So you've got that beautiful tricolour apple blossom effect there, more pronounced. You've got, and at the time that the blossom comes, you've actually got foliage on there, and the foliage on that photo doesn't show it that well. It's got a little bit of silver grey in it, and it's an interesting shape compared to your other crab apples. And often you can get your Ioensis floriplena grafted up high because it's a very compact little tree, so it can make a compact little blossom tree on a stick, or you can get them grafted low and have a very compact little crabapple in your garden. So Ioensis floriplena, a very important crabapple because it's compact, it's very, very late flowering, and it's amazing blossom. And some people actually get annoyed at having the crab apples falling down in their garden, and it's got very few crab apples. So it's quite distinctly different from the rest. Now the next one I'm going to talk about is Floribunda. Now Floribunda is not for everyone. And the reason I love Floribunda, I love the tricolour effect of the dark pink, the medium pink and the white blossoms. And the reason why it's not for everyone, it's one of your biggest blossom trees. I think the biggest ones I've seen would have been 7 metres tall and 5 or 6 metres wide, and covered in blossom. It's like, wow. So if you've got a country property and you want to have a blossom tree that'll just knock your socks off, it's your Floribunda. Or if you kind of got a little suburban property and you want one that entirely fill the front or backyard, it's your Floribunda. So Floribunda, fabulous blossom, not great for little crab apples. I've not really checked it out for crab apples. But the next one I'm going to talk about is your gorgeous crab apple, and I'll tell you an interesting story about that. Your gorgeous crab apple used to be really, really popular because if you're after just a pure white blossom, it's fabulous. If you're after a very compact tree, it's absolutely wonderful. So it's a compact tree, amazing, intense white blossom, and as you can see in the photo there, it blossoms just as the leaves are emerging. So the first blossoms have got no leaves in it. But then the reason why I think they call crabapple gorgeous is the fruit. It has a very, very heavy crop of fruit. I used to pick it for my mum to make jelly, and it makes the most beautiful crabapple jelly, but it's also a beautiful ornamental. And I'll tell you an interesting story. My dad used to go down to some of the old suburbs and give people a plant and ask if he could prune up their gorgeous crabapple, and he used to cut the fruiting spurs off the crabapples, and then take them home and graft them onto little apple seedlings. And what would happen is that they'd blossom and then they'd fruit, and he'd have these amazing little bonsais that had little apple fruits on them that were only 6 months old. So they'd be, because he'd use a sexually mature piece and put it on, and he'd sell them in little pots with 4 or 5 fruits hanging on them, just little tiny crab apples like this. And so, and I don't know, he read about it in a book somewhere, and used to do it every year as a bit of as one of our nursery lines. So you can do interesting things, but the fruit is it's great. It's very, if you bite it, it's very tart. You know, you'll find you screw your face up, and it's very, very tart, but great to put into a jelly. Beautiful to look at. So with your gorgeous crabapple, you've got this amazing white blossom. You've got beautiful green foliage, lovely autumn colour, and in the autumn colour, the apples will be turning a sort of a nice purpley red, and then you've got your fruit afterwards. So it's a great little blossom tree that actually helps you out in the kitchen a little bit. And then our last one is a weeping peach.
We don't have a photo of that, but we can still chat about it.
Okay. I thought you did that sort of scarlety one right at the end. That lovely scarlet one. But anyway, we'll see if we can find the photo. But your weeping peach, Where your cherries tend to have sort of softer blossoms, I included the weeping peach, and there's a beautiful crimson one, and it'll be flowering in the next week or two, so it's a very early one, and the colour is really, really rich, vivid, sort of hint of purple, hint of crimson, sort of really powerful, hot crimson pink, and it's a. But the reason why I sort of haven't done too much on your peaches and your apricots and various things like that is that those ones can require a little bit of spraying like your other fruit trees. But amazing colour, nice and early, and very, very interesting. But I didn't include much in those other odd sort of blossoms because the ones that I've used are ones that you can grow in the average garden without ever spraying them. Because they're fairly resistant to bugs and diseases, and your weeping peach, amazing to look at, along with a lot of your other sort of weeping apricots and things like that. But they can need a bit of spraying and a bit more attention than the ones that I've just gone through. So they're more for the kind of super duper keen gardener rather than the sort of the casual gardener, which is where we're probably more focused today. So there we are. So that's your blossoms. And I guess the thing to be doing is to be looking at all these different blossoms and working out which blossoms are right for you. And it's not just the blossom; it's the shape of the tree. Like there's some. I've mentioned quite a few ones that are compact. There's ones that are grafted up high, so that you've got a sort of a shape or a weeper or something up on a pole, so you can have other flowers and things underneath, which is great for people who are trying to get a great garden in a confined area, which is almost everybody today.
Yeah, that sounds incredible. If anyone has any questions about the spring blossoms that we've covered, ask them now and we'll answer them in live time. I'm going to ask Chris some rapid fire questions just to really help people narrow down what spring blossom is best for them. So I'm curious, Chris, what spring blossom would you say has the best fragrance? What smells the best?
It's a Bleriana.
Bleriana? Okay,
Yeah.
so if you really want fragrance, Bleriana is for you. What about the longest flowering?
Longest flowering, do you know that it would probably be the Bleriana again? And it's because it's flowering when Melbourne's icy cold, and it's sort of like having it in the fridge, I guess. It lasts for ages, whereas a lot of these other ones, as you're getting into sort of late September and October, and we're much warmer weather, and you've got funguses and things about, the blossoming becomes shorter.
And what about the hardiest one?
The hardiest
toughest one.
The toughest. Let me have a think about that. It would have to be a crabapple. Your Ioensis, your Floribunda, your Gorgeous, any of your crabapples. Like crabapples are the sort of thing you could throw them on the side of the road somewhere and not even plant them and they'd grow, So I reckon the hardiest would be a crabapple.
All right, great. Well, we did have a question from Poor Caro asking how tall are the tall standards. I'm not sure exactly which one they're referring to, so if you do want to provide a little context, or if you know if there were standards you were talking about.
Okay, I'll have a go at it. The tallest standards are the standards that they graft that grow upwards. And the tallest one would be the Kanzan, because a Kanzan, even without being a standard, would grow up 3 or 4 metres, and on a standard it's probably going to go up 2.5 or 3 metres. So you're going to, with a standard Kanzan, you could end up with a 5 or 6 metre tree.
Okay, cool.
And even a Shimizu Sakura is going to end up with, you're going to end up 3.5, 4 metres with a Shimizu Sakura.
Yeah, perfect. All right, I hope that answered your question, Poor Caro. Have another one here from you asking, do you have a standard blossom that would already be 6 feet? Do we?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
we have lots.
Okay.
Lots.
In
lots
stock
and
right
lots.
now, or
Yeah,
are we
in stock
gonna?
right now.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, come on down.
In fact, could I talk about a deal?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, we've got this deal on at the moment, and what we're doing is anybody, and you can come in and get a garden design, anybody coming in and spending over $200, we've got some $90 weeping cherries, we've got them in pink or white, we've got some $90 standard weeping cherries, and if you spend over $200, you're entitled to pick up one of them for $30. And $30 is the sort of price I was selling them for nearly 30 years ago. So it's like a
Wow.
30-year-old price.
We're time traveling right
Yeah,
now.
time traveling. We used to, going back 30 years ago, we'd have a $29.99 weeping cherry. Well, this year there's quite a few weeping cherries around. And for anybody spending over $200, we're doing them at cost. We're doing them for $30 each.
That sounds incredible. Do we have any of these blossoms you talked about, flowering trees, on our winter clearance sale?
Yeah, it's one of the deals in the winter clearance. We're encouraging people to come in for the winter clearance.
Because we know it's very cold and no one
Yeah.
wants to be outside.
That's right. Yeah, we're trying to lure people in because we've got rent to pay and wages to pay, and we need some people to come in the winter. And so basically, you've got this winter sale. Things are 25 to 50% off. It's all on the website. And not only that, the added bonus is that you get one of our $90 weeping cherries for $30 when you come in and spend over $200.
That sounds
So-
pretty good to me.
So you can save a fortune at the winter sale. So if you put on 2 or 3 jumpers and a coat and come down,
You'll
be
save a
right.
lot of money. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, we are obviously trying to draw more people in during these harsher months. But also, you're doing yourself a big favor if you buy your plants now, because come springtime, prices are going to go up and stock is going to go down as it sells out, because everyone is thinking about their garden then. So if you want to be a bit clever and start thinking about your garden now, start buying for your garden now, you're going to save yourself so much
That's right. They
energy, time,
Yeah,
money.
they reckon you should buy shares and property and stuff in a slump, when no one else wants to buy it.
Yeah.
And kind of right now we have the winter slump, so now's the time to be stocking up. You'll get big stuff and you'll get it cheap.
Yeah.
And you'll get a cheap weeping cherry sort of almost chucked in at the same time.
Sounds pretty good. And actually, Porcaro mentions that you did their garden 30 years ago.
Wow.
That's pretty incredible. Send us photos. We'd
Yeah.
love to see how your garden looks now, or if you even have photos from back then, please do send it to our Instagram account. That'd be incredible. We had one question on Facebook from Mitchell, not relating to the spring blossoms, but we'll just answer it here, asking what is the best fertilizer to use to improve clay soil?
Okay. The best stuff for clay soil is compost and good soil. But apart from that, lime is really good. Lime helps break it up. But most of all, gypsum. But with lots of people will say, oh, I tried gypsum, but it didn't work. And the reason why gypsum doesn't work for most people is that some companies, I won't mention any names, sell an ICI product that's white powder, and it's some sort of chemical waste, and they label it gypsum and sell it. So if you go to buy gypsum and it's just white powder, it looks a bit like cocaine or something like that. I'm not sure what it really is, but anyway, if they've got this white powder, don't buy it. Real gypsum looks like beach sand. It's yellow, and it looks like beach sand, looks like you've been ripped off or something like that. And you can buy it. A company like E.E. Muir, a proper fertilizer place, will sell real gypsum. And so if you really wanted to tackle clay, you can buy like an organic soil mix, like a 3-way mix, and you can cultivate that in. And then the secret and then a bit of lime, and then gypsum. And the secret is 3 kilos per square metre. So even on a small front yard, you could use bags and bags of gypsum, and then you cultivate that gypsum in. And so the combination so what I tend to do when I've got clay soil is I'll dig it over, and I'll dig it over a shovel or a spade deep, dig it over like that deep. Then I'll start adding some potting mix or some organic soil or something like that, and I'll start mixing that in there. And then you go for the gypsum, you go for 3 kilos per square metre, a little bit of lime, and you could end up with fabulous soil. And clay's not that bad. Don't throw your clay out. Mix it up and fix it up,
Yeah, sounds good to me. So we are going to wrap things up there. If you have any other questions, come to our live Q&A. We run it every Monday, 12 p.m. on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. And so you can come with all of your gardening questions, and we spend the entire about 30 minutes. Sometimes we run a little bit over, just dedicated to answering your questions. Then we also do lives like today, which is more lecture style, teaching you about a particular topic, like we did today with the spring blossoms. And then from this live, we are going to write an article. It's going to come out next week. And so if you found that you didn't quite catch the name, sometimes it can be hard to spell, don't worry, we're going to have it all in the article next week. Last week we did an article about magnolias, and that's going to be coming out. Last week we did a live about magnolias, and the article is going to be coming out, I believe, Thursday. So keep your eye out for that. We will be posting that on the website. So if you just go down there, you can read all about it. And I hope everyone has a lovely rest of their Tuesday.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on our socials for what other topics we're going to be covering, because we are going to be doing other lives next week. So yeah, hope to see you there.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
In the morning sun where the flowers bloom, colors burst like a painter's dream come true. Roses red and violets blue, every petal whispers something new. From tiny seeds to trees so grand, every leaf and bird, it's all at hand. Hello, hello, plant, welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello, plant, in every shade and hue, for every heart and every hand, we've got something for you. Indoor greens and outdoor scenes, design your space, let your garden dreams glide. Personal touch with our garden design, free sessions to blend within your budget line. Alright. From tiny seeds to trees so grand, every leaf and bird, it's all at hand. Hello, hello, plant, welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello, plant, in every shade and hue, for every heart and every hand, we've got something for you. Now everybody, let's say hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello, plant, welcome to the show.